So let me ask you this, Caroline. He calls you up and says, Caroline, I listen to the Sean Spicer show every day after I'm done with Tony Katz in Indiana. And I want you, I heard what you said about that. Where would you say, give me 3 shows that I should go on, or what would you tell him?
I would say Allie Beth Stuckey, her podcast, I think would, and honestly, I gotta say, he risks alienating some of the religious right these days. Some of them are really struggling.
He's doing Raymond Arroyo today at EWTN as well.
Yes.
But that's a dude.
On the life issue, sometimes I think there's a good subset of Christian voters that wanted to support Trump, and now they feel morally compromised.
Okay, so what other 2 shows? I love your point, but I'm now excited to know, where
do
I go?
Where
do I go?
Okay. Alex Clark, because she's
I love, we love some of us and Alex.
Yes.
But Alex, hold on. So tell me why, because I've been saying big food is an issue.
That's why.
Alex is a champion on big food.
That's why.
You think that that's the issue, or because I want to peel back for a second. You said the religious right, you might be a concern. So what would you, is that the Allie Beth Stuckey play?
That's Allie Beth Stuckey for the religious right, like basically the Bible Belt women that are now unsure. And you need those people because every vote counts. Alex Clark would be for the Make America Healthy Again.
Yep. She's fantastic.
Independent women and moms who are afraid that we're basically poisoning our children inadvertently and that child disease is a chronic problem. And RFK, that coalition, that's important with the Alex Clark booking. So Barron Trump, if you're hearing this, book Alex Clark. And I think the third one, I think she should go on Call. I think he should go on Call Her Daddy.
Oh,
I think he should, because I mean, Alex Cooper tried to pretend like her audience was politically diverse. I'm not so sure it's that diverse, but I think there's a lot of what I would call just normal or normie, women who are my age, right? They're unmarried and they're under 30 and they just kind of like pop culture content. And Alex Cooper is an extremely exciting personality that is, she's very current, she's very trendy, and they just tune into her kind of as an impulse because there's really not a lot of other options. So I think he could go on that podcast and maybe make his case to them. Like, listen, here are the issues that I think as you get older, as you come of age, as young women that are going to matter to you. Unfortunately, Cooper's
all right. I'm not there yet. I'm not there. The Call Her Daddy thing is so offensive to me on a sexual nature. Patrice, but I want to just he calls you up. He says, I listen to Caroline. Patrice, I need 3 shows I can go on that will bring me into the female audience. What would you say?
I start with Megyn Kelly. I mean, obviously male audience there, but definitely she's a newsmaker, and a lot of women, millennials and Gen Zers and Gen Xers certainly trust her. I would go, I'm not a big podcaster, but man, I would, if you want to stay in the conservative circle, go on Outnumbered, which is Fox's midday kind of answer to The View. You're probably going to get a lot of softball questions there, but that's okay. And then, in terms of other podcasts, I mean, I think I would put my eggs in Megyn Kelly's basket, honestly.
All right. I would ask Tony, but Tony, do you have
this?
Okay, give me it. Give me the.
You would go with Kira Davis on the Just Listen to Yourself podcast. Black conservative, wrote the book Crossing Lines. Born in Canada, American citizen, has an incredible story to tell, and would ask some very, very detailed questions. I would also put him with Stacey Washington over there on Sirius Satellite Radio. Yep. Right? She's
Stacey on the right at night.
It's spectacular. I would say you got to have a conversation, non-political, with Carol Markowitz, who's part of that whole Clay and Buck podcast network. That's a conversation that I would have. And if we want to play in the space of Call Her Daddy without doing it, go on with British Fennessy, with what she's doing over there on locals through Rumble. I think that those maybe not be as big as Call Her Daddy, but would offer him an opportunity to speak to a lot of women in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, you got Tommy Lahren, Sarah Gonzalez down at the Blaze. I mean, there's a lot to choose from, but I think this is a good point. All right, I got one more ad that I want to show from Team Trump that I want you guys to respond to. This is an ad from him that we're going to pop out, so let's take a look at that one.
flood of illegals, skyrocketing prices, global chaos, and Kamala wouldn't change a thing.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Nothing will change with Kamala. More weakness, more war, more welfare for illegals, and even more taxes. Only President Trump cut middle-class taxes, and only President Trump will do it again.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Caroline, what do you think about that? I mean, that's the campaign message from their pocketbook, putting on air that they're hitting her hard. Nothing's going to change. It's more of the same. You're not going to turn the page.
Yeah, because look, she might be this basically cipher without a core, without a real worldview, but I do think her gut reaction instincts are radical because she'll just basically follow the trend of the party, which is lurched left. And that's what she did in 2020 when she supported bailing out the rioters, defunding the police. And I mean, I don't think she would have objected at all to the way Biden has conducted, and she has conducted this border. I mean, she was the border czar, if she didn't need moderates with a couple weeks left to go. And I mean, obviously the border became such a salient issue because it's sprinkling into so many other communities in this country. It's made every state a border state, you know, and now we have migrant crime. We have MS-13 2.0 wreaking havoc in places like Aurora, Colorado, you know, Springfield. Those are places that I think, because those stories were amplified so much on Twitter on a national level, in news networks, I think it kind of forced Kamala to basically say, oh, I'm a border hawk now, by the way. Nobody believes that. Her instincts are progressive.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, the thing is, I felt like some of the Kamala ads go against the grain. There's a narrative on her. She, you know, we talked about, I'm going to cut taxes. No, you're not. You raise taxes. You made this. But this Trump ad hits to every narrative that you already believe about her, that she's an extension of Joe Biden's presidency, that she has no values, that she's inauthentic, that she's weak on the border.
I think that this ad is exposing that she said it's an extension of Joe Biden's presidency. It's her on the record. Going back to our conversation earlier, that's what makes it so effective. I still argue this is an ad geared towards men trying to raise a family, trying to protect their family, that Kamala Harris is going to make it as impossible as it's been over the last 4 years, and Trump will make things better. That's the thrust of the ad, and I do think it's very successful in that way.
All right, Patrice, I have an... Oh, go ahead.
Well, just to pick up off what Tony said, I think the other big piece is it's a reminder President Trump is tapping into the trust that people already have in him because of what he's done in the past. He's demonstrated his record from a fiscal standpoint, from a world not on fire standpoint, and he can do it again. And the polls demonstrate people have trust in him on a lot of those key issues.
So, Patrice, I'm driving down the road. I gave a speech to a group of Republicans in Arlington the other night who are out there helping President Trump. And on the way home, back to Alexandria, in the median were two signs, and I'll put them up on the screen, and they look like they're Trump signs. But one of them just said Trump equals safety, Kamala equals crime, and then the other one said Trump low taxes, Kamala high taxes, and they were juxtaposed. And I thought about it. I literally pulled over and took pictures of them because I thought to myself, when you're in the home stretch of the campaign, and you've got some undecided voters, you want the simplest message possible. And we keep talking about Kamala's got a hard time. What's her message? Is it anti-Trump? Is it I'm not Joe Biden? Is it I'm lowering taxes? I'm strong on the border. I'm like, even Democrats keep chastising her for not having a consolidated message. But the Trump team, when I saw this, I said, that's it. Trump safety, Kamala crime. Trump low taxes, Kamala high taxes. You can walk up to anyone in the world and they say, why are you voting for Trump? Trump safety, Kamala crime. Trump low taxes, Kamala high taxes. It's easy, it's simple, and it's compelling. What do you think?
Oh, can I have some for my neighborhood? Because I keep seeing these Harris Wald signs.
You live in Maryland.
Yeah, I know. And PG County. No, I mean, I think it's a good point that you need to keep it very simple and demonstrate you've got a candidate who's already been president and already proven what he can do on both of those issues. And those still are the top issues. So why not hit them? Right. For Kamala Harris, I wouldn't be surprised if in the last stretch, her issue is one issue. It's going to be democracy. We heard it a lot last night We heard it time and time again because that's the best, strongest fear mongering they have other than abortion. But that democracy piece is going to be the motivating. And that's what her closer is going to be. I will save democracy.
Yeah, you've got to think Joe Biden's like, I've been saying this. I've been saying it. And you guys told me I was wrong. I got to get back in the race. They're going to sub that guy back in. Caroline, we always end Thursdays with winners and losers. Who do you think's had a good week and who do you think's had a bad week?
If that means anybody, I'd say Bret Baier's a winner. He absolutely is because
that was mine.
Sorry. He gave us a real reckoning of Kamala Harris, even despite her evasiveness, despite her showing up late. You know, of course, leftist media is saying she was ambushed by Bret Baier, who's one of the most fair-minded journalists out there. So, you know, he stood tall.
By the way, I just want to be clear on this. He asked real questions. I mean, how dare he? What is this with the questions and the policies? And
oh my
anyway,
gosh!
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
we're on the same page on this. Who do you think who was the loser of the week?
Well, in the same vein, I think the loser is still the entire network of CBS News, who has not yet released the full transcript of Kamala Harris's 60-minute.
Oh, and they got caught editing Mike Johnson. I posted this on Twitter. Like this is sort of like these guys don't know when to stop. All right, Patrice, who do you have as a winner and a loser this week?
The winner is, oh gosh, it just escaped my mind. The loser, I'll start with that. Martha Raddatz of ABC. She was called out by J.D. Vance in an epic moment where she's trying to say, oh, just a few apartment complexes have been taken over by violent criminals who should not be here. And he just said, Kev, can you listen to yourself? So I think she's definitely the loser.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be.
By the way, the next day, a dude got the crap kicked out of him at one of those buildings. I mean, this is like how many people I'm so glad you brought that up, but it's like with the Democrats, how many people should vote illegally? With this, how many illegals should come into the country? How many people should be a victim of crime? Because they never want to give you a line. How many, when is it okay for abortion? It's always like this. They won't get specific. And this is exactly the point. JD crushed that, which was how many apartment buildings is okay to be overrun by Venezuelan gangs that are beating up our citizens. Just FYI, how many? Anyway, did you think of your winner yet?
Yes, Elon Musk. We saw with his spaceship, like reconnecting the boosters. So instead of the U.S. government, when they send boosters up, they drop in the ocean and they become fodder for fish. But instead, he was able to reconnect it and pretty much recycle it for being used in future space exploration. So just a reminder of the brilliance of the private sector and frankly the brilliance of Elon Musk.
All right, I'll double down on Elon. I got a different loser, but he's a good winner because he also donated $75 million and he's doing this tour around Pennsylvania. It's brilliant, by the way. He said, come see me for free. The only price of admission is you have to have voted. It was awesome. Tony Katz, winner and loser.
The winner this week is Ron DeSantis because there's a guy escaping Hurricane Milton who ties his dog to a post and leaves it to die. A state trooper finds the dog. Yep. The governor and others we're going to find who owns this dog and we're going to charge him. The guy was charged with a felony. People love their pets. It's Ron DeSantis, hands down, no question.
Loser.
The loser is vibes, man. The vibes are gone. The whole campaign of
Brat
joy
summer's over,
vibes.
Baby.
It's honestly, I'm so brat. I remember when it was in fashion.
I will tell you, my loser of the week is Bill Clinton.
You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted, and that doesn't happen.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
The guy goes out to be a surrogate for Kamala Harris, and it's unfortunate circumstances, so I don't mean to make light of it, but he was asked about the death of Laken Riley, and he says, yeah, she'd still be alive if these people were vetted, which I'm like, that's not exactly what you want a surrogate to do. Right. Anyway, guys, thank you for being here. Great discussion. And by the way, I think Ron DeSantis has done a great job down as governor, not just with dogs and cats and animals that he has helped, but just getting aid to the people in Florida.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.